Hello and welcome to another episode of Rico'S Rants. I'm your host, Rico DiGiorgio. I've got my Batman shirt on, so you know what that means, guys. Let's see. What is after Batman and Robin? Batman Begins. We went through the end to go back to the beginning. Phoenix style. Let's do this. So. Man, it's such a blessing to be able to talk about like a Batman movie that I actually really enjoy. Not like the past ones that I had to do, except for Under the Red Hood. That was really good. But Under the Red Hood is an animated film. As much as I love the animated Batman films, God, we need a really good Batman movie. And Batman Begins is a really good Batman movie. Is it amazing? No. Is it perfect? No. Is it pretty good? It's pretty fucking good. So, I got my smokes. I got Batman on my chest. It sounds very erotic. I'm okay with that. Let's do this. So, first off, let's talk about who is the man in the cowl. Christian Bale. Now, for a lot of you, Christian Bale is your go-to for Batman. My go-to is Ben Affleck, Christian Bale, and Michael Keaton. If any of you say George Clooney, you do not know who the fuck Batman is. And you are more attracted to shitty movies. So, is Christian Bale a perfect Batman? No. Is anybody a perfect Batman? No. But we've had some that are really good, really close to being great Batman. Val Kilmer and George Clooney are not on that list. And if you disagree with me, then you are Val Kilmer and George Clooney. Or Adam West. So, Christian Bale, at this point in his career, had just finished The Machinist. If you haven't seen The Machinist, go see The Machinist. It is not a light-hearted film in any way. One of the most dark, fucked up movies I've seen. But beautifully acted. Makes you cringe. Good little mystery. And Bale dropped his weight down to 120 pounds. And he's 6 foot. So he's just emaciated skeleton. Knowing that, I know I'm talking about one film to lead to another. Knowing that, he had to bulk up and get super jacked up and muscle tone and convincingly have a body of Batman in about 6 months, I think. He does a great job. He has a convincing body. And that's what I was talking about in some of the other videos, is that Val Kilmer and George Clooney did not have the bat bod. It's relevant. You can't be fighting crime just relying on a muscle suit. It doesn't really work. Even with Michael Keaton, I give him a pass because Michael Keaton is a phenomenal actor and it works. But it's nice to see an actor like Bale or Affleck go the extra mile and look like they could beat the shit out of someone, which is what Batman is supposed to do. That being said, Bale is a Welshman, and he's a talented actor, and I have no issue with his acting ability. He is great in many, many, many films I've seen him in, and he's great in this. The problem is, his Batman voice is kind of ridiculous. Now, in this one, and this is, look, spoiler alert for this film, for The Dark Knight, and for The Dark Knight Rises. So if you've not seen all three, leave this video, because I will spoil lots of elements for all three films, because while the other Batman films had some of the same actors, mainly Michael Gough or Pat Hingle, there's really not a whole lot of continuity. Like, there's a big departure between Batman and Batman Returns, the Tim Burton ones, and the Schumacher ones, Batman Forever and Batman and Robin. They're two separate series smushed together, and we're supposed to believe it's the same film series. This trilogy, the Dark Knight trilogy, definitely is connected. Each film is referencing the previous film or future films in this scenario. So, back to Bale. Bale's Batman voice, while it is kind of menacing in this one, is really ridiculous in The Dark Knight and The Dark Knight Rises. He growls and he sounds like Cookie Monster. It really is. It sounds like Cookie Monster. I'll give you an example. Where is the trigger? Where is he? Me want Cookie. Me want Cookie. Yeah, it's fucking Cookie Monster. And look, I, for the most part, can handle that. Because in this one, he very much tones it down. He's like, it's not what I do that defines me. Or whatever the fuck the line is. He's like, you gotta get Falcone. It's a little bit better in this one. He should have stuck with it. Not have a rage scream type of thing. Personally, my whole thing was I liked Ben Affleck's voice modulator. That worked really well. You know, because one, screaming and barking like Bale does will damage your voice on a nightly basis if you're supposed to invoke fear in the criminals of Gotham or anywhere. So eventually he's going to be like, where is the trigger? Where is it? Where? So it makes sense to have a voice modulator which will change his voice. That's why I really appreciate Ben Affleck's approach. And I did read that Bale lost his voice 3 times during this movie. And this was when he didn't sound super angry as shit. Okay, so who else? Oh, wait, let me go back to Bale. So a little bit, Bale looks the part of Bruce Wayne. Does he act the part of Bruce Wayne? Not really. He's kind of more of an asshole than what I would normally want. He doesn't really play the buffoon that we're supposed to imagine Bruce Wayne being. He sort of just plays him like a stuffy rich boy with a silver spoon up his ass. Which is another side to Bruce Wayne, sure. He can use the I'm a rich guy kind of mentality. To me, honestly, the best Bruce Wayne I've seen was George Clooney, ironically enough. Because he has that airhead quality. That's the whole point, is Bruce Wayne is the complete opposite of Batman. To a certain degree. Batman is the world's greatest detective. Which means Bruce Wayne should be stupid. He should be a pampered playboy who is superficially just into women and sports and whatever the fuck. He should be the stereotypical dumb jock who just happens to be wealthy. Who can afford a museum. Having him be a drunk asshole didn't really strike well with me. But other than that, Bale was a good Batman. Was he scary? Yeah, he kind of was. And that's the theme of this film, is it's all about fear. It's all about striking fear into the hearts of the criminals that he is attacking. You also have to remember, this is more or less an adaptation of Frank Miller's Batman Year One. So Batman is starting out. He's training. He makes mistakes. He improves each day and learns from his previous mistakes. And that was nice to see. Because while I am interested in the perfect Batman, who doesn't stumble, who can block every punch, it is nice to remind the audience and myself, Batman is human. That's the whole point of him is that he is a superhero who is a mortal man. He just happens to be insanely tough and incredibly smart and has a lot of gadgets and weapons at his disposal. He inspires the average Joe, like us, that if we train hard enough, we can be Batman. If we boost our intelligence enough, we can be Batman. We can never be Superman. We can never be the Flash. No matter how fast you run, you'll never be the Flash. Good luck trying to find a ring to be Green Lantern, or hold your breath underwater, see how long it lasts when you want to be Aquaman. But Batman, we could be, to a certain degree. We're more likely to be Robin, if we're being fucking honest. I know grown-ass men who aren't even as tough as the fucking Boy Wonder. Not me, though. I could kick Robin's ass. I say that now. Until he knocks on my door and says, "What the fuck you say?" And I'll be like, "Holy shit, Robin!" Anyways. So, Bale is a good Batman. But he always kind of... I felt like he was lacking something. And his voice was just not great. That being said, whatever criticism I could have for Bale in this is completely wiped away from the supporting cast. Not gonna lie. I pay more attention to the people around Batman in this Batman movie because they're more interesting. They're more interesting. There's just no way. They're more captivating. They're more charming. You know, and he's got big actors around him. He's got Gary Oldman as Commissioner Gordon, who's not commissioner yet. He's just lieutenant. And this, in his own way, is Gordon's story as well. Because, like I said, this is based in part on Batman Year One. I got mosquitoes in my room. Fuck. In Batman Year One, Gordon has just moved to Gotham, and he's sickened by the corruption of Gotham. And he refuses to, get a little taste from the corrupt police force that are sort of ripping off hardworking citizens for protection. They're basically their own mob. And he's very much a straight-laced, honorable, good cop. And Gary Oldman plays against type. Normally, Gary Oldman is a bad guy in most of his films. With the exception of something like Sirius Black and Gordon, he's a villain in some way, or he's a very dark hero. Let's go through the list. Hannibal, he's a fucking villain. He fucking played Dracula. Even when he played Beethoven, he was a complete dick. And he was homicidal. Not homicidal, but he was psychotic. And he was angry. And he was rage-fueled. I mean, even his first role as Sid Vicious, he is a nutcase. And he's a sociopath. And I mean, going to The Fifth Element, even when he's charming, he's crazy. Leon the Professional. Seriously, he just is number one the bad guy. And that's his charm. So it was really refreshing to see him be a very sympathetic hero. Or a supporting hero. Really, really good idea for him to be a good guy. And I don't know if that was the director or if that was his own audition or whatever. But it works really, really, really well. And he is just as interesting in the entire trilogy to see him go through his own character development and his own character arc. Who else is good in this? Well, this is one of the rare films where I actually wrote down notes. I'm trying to do my homework. Michael Caine as Alfred. Now listen, preferably my go-to Alfred is Jeremy Irons in Batman v Superman. And I know that's controversial, because Batman v Superman was not a very good movie, but Jeremy Irons, his take on a younger, more cynical, kind of beaten down, but still tough Alfred was a really nice, fresh take. You know, you believe in most of the iterations, Alfred was a soldier in or a spy in the British Army, and worked for British intelligence. Like, essentially, Jeremy Irons was a James Bond. So you'd have to believe that he would be able to pack a punch, that he'd be able to fight, he'd be able to go to Batman or Bruce Wayne and have the balls to say, no, you need to stop what you're fucking doing. Kind of like how I'm about to tell my cat, no, you need to stop what the fuck you're doing. Go out. Get the fuck outside. Listen, Batman, you get the fuck outside. You stop with your shit. That's Jeremy Irons. Michael Caine, as good as he is in this, listen, I'm just going to say, Michael Caine's voice works for him and works against him. His voice is very romantic, but it's also kind of obnoxious. And you know what? It's the Cockney accent. But it's not just that. It's also his delivery. It's very, it sounds holier than thou. That's my opinion. I could be wrong, but it's just my opinion. In which case, I'm not wrong. It's just an opinion, not a fact. You don't like it? Tough shit. Anyways, I will state this. This Alfred, played by Michael Caine, works for this Batman, played by Christian Bale. You could not have Michael Goff or Jeremy Irons with this Batman. So there is that good character dynamic between the two of them, and that works well for this film. Cillian Murphy, and I know it's not Cillian. I looked it up, and his fucking name is pronounced Killian. Perfect name for a villain actor. Plays the Scarecrow. First time we've ever seen the Scarecrow on screen. It works for this film because this film, like I said, the running theme is all about fear. And Scarecrow uses a fear toxin to fuck with his patients and ultimately spread panic in Gotham. Lucius Fox is sort of the Batman Q, the guy who makes all his gadgets. And he's played by Morgan Freeman. Really good. The majority of the scenes where I was really intrigued was between the small scenes between Morgan Freeman and Christian Bale. Just talking about gadgets. I could have watched a whole other 45 minutes of just Batman being like, now what's this one? And Morgan Freeman just like, oh yeah, this is from the army and we did this and then that makes this and blah blah blah. And it's a grapple gun. It goes like this. Would have loved to see more of that. Really interesting. To me, some of my favorite parts of the James Bond series is when James Bond is talking to Q and Q presents his new series of gadgets for him to test out. So it's nice to have a little throwback to that. Now we get to one of the big ones in this. Liam fucking Neeson plays a character named Henry Ducard. But if you see the movie, you know he's not Henry Ducard. Henry Ducard is an alias. Liam Neeson plays Ra's al Ghul, or Ra's al Ghul. It depends on how you pronounce it. I never really knew which one to pronounce it, so I use both. Ra's al Ghul literally means head of the demon, or head of the ghoul. And he is the leader of the League of Shadows, and in the comics it's the League of Assassins. Basically, he is the head of a bunch of well-trained ninja assassins who specialize in deception and blah, 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 blah. Liam Neeson has been doing, before he was the older ass-kickery guy in Taken, he was very much I'm the mentor, older guy to the younger hero. Star Wars, Batman, Even Aslan in fucking Chronicles of Narnia. This was his I'm your mentor, I'm your mentor, that kind of thing. And in this one, they do a little twist. He's the guy who trained Batman. He made Batman Batman. But he's also the big bad. He is very much wanting to overthrow Gotham. And his League of Assassins, what they do is they restore balance to situations by any means necessary. So they feel that Gotham is a cesspool of a city. They need to destroy it because it's not worth saving. And it'll keep the balance of the world in order. So, to their point of view, they're doing something honorable. They sacked Rome. They put rats on ships and during the Black Plague and blah, 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 blah. Liam Neeson does not disappoint. Liam Neeson is one of the most captivating actors ever. You want proof? Rewatch Phantom Menace, and you tell me the best thing about that movie, apart from Darth Maul, is Liam Neeson. Liam Neeson more or less plays a more villainous version of his Qui-Gon Jinn character. He meditates, he's a mentor, he's a teacher, he's a father figure to the young hero who has a dark side. And in this one, he just happens to be the bad guy. That'd be like in Phantom Menace where it was revealed that he was the Phantom Menace. Right? Who else? Okay. I'm just going to say this. Katie Holmes cannot act. Not in this. So, I was more grateful that Maggie Gyllenhaal was recast in the same Rachel Dawes character. Because I don't know if I could have stand much more Katie Holmes. She's not good. She comes off very whiny, very screechy, and it just I don't know, man. I just can't. I can't sit around and watch too much Katie Holmes. I feel bad for Katie Holmes because I know she. I don't like to say people are not good actors. If it's their dream and their passion, and they weren't like already rich and famous and then decided to become an actor, like that was their next gig to sort of get into the spotlight, I'm all for any actor following their passion. And I believe that's how she was. She started out wanting to be an actress, wasn't like a singer who said, oh, I'll get into acting, and then it's easy for them. So I feel terrible blasting her. But my problem is I just have not seen anything that is worth mentioning and credible for me to say, you know what, she can act. Haven't seen it yet, and I'd love to. I'm all open to be proven wrong and to be proven people can act when I say that it can't act. Okay, so another running theme in this, apart from fear, is guilt. Because Batman, or Bruce, depending on how you look at it, feels guilty for his parents' death. Early in the film, when he's a small boy, he falls in a pit. A cave, essentially. And he's terrified because all these bats swarm and attack him. And that's where the fear of he's afraid of bats. But he uses his fear to turn on his enemies, which is kind of weird. Because if you're afraid and then you overcome your fear, you're no longer afraid. I don't know. It's just sort of a weird thing. So he's watching an opera with his parents, and for some reason bats are heavily featured in this opera, and he gets uncomfortable. And they go outside, and the father sort of takes the blame. He's just like, oh, I needed some air, let's go for a walk, let's go. First thing is this opera is right in the middle of like the worst part of town. Crime alley essentially. Not like they leave an opera and they take a shortcut home or whatever. They open the door and they're in like a really grungy part of Gotham. And immediately are held up by gunmen. Anybody who knows anything about Batman knows the ending of this scenario. Gunman shoots, his parents, Thomas and Martha, Wayne, and Thomas tells Bruce it's okay, as he's dying. And so where Batman v Superman focused very heavily on the mother, this one focuses very heavily on the father. And it makes sense. Little boys need their fathers, but little boys need their mothers as well. But little boys go to their father to learn how to grow up and be a man. So now, Bruce doesn't have that. And he feels guilty because he was the one who wanted to leave the theater. And he is just overcome with it. And he goes out to Tibet and he wants to sort of go through a self-awakening journey, and he sort of becomes a criminal. He hangs with the tough crowd, but he is more interested in burying his rage and also taking his rage out on other people. With the sole purpose of training himself to eventually kill the people, or the man who killed his parents, Joe Chill. Which is an actual nice, refreshing take, because every other Batman movie that we've discussed and seen, it's always been someone else. Joe Chill is the original person who shot Thomas and Martha Wayne. That's nice that they actually stuck with the comics. That being said, guilt is featured a lot in this film, and fear is featured a lot in this film. And the lack of a father figure, which is why Bruce latches on to Alfred throughout the whole trilogy in a very father-son kind of way. He still is very much reminding Alfred, you're not my father. But he might as well fucking be his father. I forgot one other actor, Tom Wilkinson. And Tom Wilkinson is another British actor. This movie has a lot of non-Americans playing Americans, and it works pretty well. I mean, Christian Bale is Welsh, Michael Caine is British, Cillian Murphy is Irish, Liam Neeson is Irish, Gary Oldman is English, and Tom Wilkinson is English. I mean, there's a lot of, like, this should be called Britman. Britman Begins. But what are you gonna do? What else? What am I missing? Oh, there are hints for later films, and not like a little throwaway jab at the end to be like, oh yeah, this villain left his calling card. It's the Joker card. I mean, Liam Neeson at one point is talking about his past in a very small little monologue about how he had a wife and how she was his true love and blah 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 blah. And in order to save her, he had to basically become the leader of the League of Assassins or Shadows. That is a hint and alluding to The Dark Knight Rises. And I will eventually watch The Dark Knight Rises and review The Dark Knight Rises, as well as The Dark Knight. So I'm not going to ruin and talk about everything now, because I don't have nothing to talk about for those. Okay, cinematography. Cinematography's great. It actually is a much fresher, realistic take on Batman, which is really nice. And the director is Christopher Nolan. Christopher Nolan has become one of the go-to big filmmakers now, but this was him really sort of starting out. He had done a couple films and was becoming a small, respected director, like with Memento. But this was the one that cemented him as a guy who could actually carry a budget, make a big theatrical film, and make a profit. And make a good film. This was not a Schumacher. This was not, essentially, Christopher Nolan was another Jon Favreau. Someone who could done some indies and then carried on a big budget movie. What I did like is that this was very much a realistic film. This is essentially a cop film where the hero happens to be in a militarized superhero suit. And that's cool. It makes it more realistic. You go out the streets of Oakland or Pittsburgh or not LA, but New York at night, and you think you're in Gotham because this movie is like very much rooted city and real city. It doesn't have the gothic overtones of Tim Burton or the giant, crazy buildings and sculptures and whatnot of Schumacher. This is very much Pittsburgh at night. And it's nice. Is it faithfully adaptable from the comics? No. Which is why, in my opinion, I've yet to see a realistic Gotham that is true to the comics. The closest I saw was Tim Burton's. So if you really had a combination of maybe Zack Snyder's Gotham and this Gotham and maybe a tinge of Tim Burton's Gotham, you would get my ideal Gotham. Not asking a whole lot, am I? I may never get to see my perfect Gotham. Some of the bad. There are some lines that don't flow well. Some unneeded lines, particularly from Michael Caine, where he's trying to be witty and sarcastic and funny, and doesn't deliver well. Like at one point, he hits someone over the back of the head and knocks them out when there's a fire. They're burning down Wayne Manor. Spoilers. And he says, I hope you're not with the fire brigade. Okay. Why say that? It's stupid. It doesn't make... First of all, it doesn't make any sense. You know he's not with the fire brigade. Otherwise, you wouldn't have fucking hit him. Also, it's obvious he's not with the fire brigade because he's staring at the fire. If that guy is a fireman and he's staring at the fire, he needs to lose his fucking job. So, it was a stupid line. But he follows it up with a really good line where he... Bruce Wayne has a burning log on him and he's just been knocked unconscious. And he wakes him up and tries to pull the log off him and he can't. And Bruce tries to push it off with him. And he says, what was the point of doing all those bloody push-ups if you can't lift a simple log? And Bale looks at him just like, this motherfucker. Alright, and he just pushes it off. That was funny. That was cool. I like that. One more problem that I felt that despite the fact that Cillian Murphy was a good actor, and I was glad to see Scarecrow represented, he's not, it was not really important. He wasn't really a captivating villain. He was very much a secondary villain, but I did like that they kept bringing him back with each movie. That he is really the only villain who shows up in all three films. And that was cool. He was sort of his first villain. And, he was his original Joker, if you really want to be technical about it. But the true villain of this is Liam Neeson. And Liam Neeson does a fantastic job. And honestly, no one could have done better. And it's nice to see him come up in Dark Knight Rises for just a small cameo. For the record, the League of Shadows, again, spoiler for Dark Knight Rises, is the same group that Bane... Hey, yes, you asked for me, yes. Was a member of, but was cast aside. They don't really elaborate why he was cast aside. He saved Ra's al Ghul's daughter and suffered physically and is in distress, pain because of it. And I guess Ra's excommunicated him because it was just a reminder of something. I don't know, man. I might have to rewatch Dark Knight Rises, but they were always very kind of like, I always felt they were very ungrateful for Bane saving his daughter and whatnot. I don't know. But it was fucking stupid. So yeah, that's my review for Batman Begins. It is a very nice, refreshing take. It's very realistic and it's very earnest, and it really tries hard to remind us that Batman and Robin existed. And believe me, after watching Batman and Robin and Batman Forever, and then watching this, this is what was needed. This needed to happen. Batman and Robin, Batman needed to die to be resurrected. What an Easter kind of analogy I just made. And I'm an atheist. Go fucking figure. But Batman rose from the ashes, and we had Christian Bale take on the throne. And Christian Bale, for this movie, works. I am glad that he passed the reins. I would not have liked to have seen Christian Bale go up against Henry Cavill Superman. I don't think they would have worked, especially now with the Man of Steel cinematography and comic booky way they made it. So that's it, guys. In terms of rating, it gets a 4 from me. I liked it better than the Dark Knight Rises, because the Dark Knight Rises has severe plot holes, and we'll talk about that in a couple videos. I liked it less than the Dark Knight, but I'll talk about the Dark Knight probably tomorrow. But the Dark Knight, I also have major issues with, and has nothing to do with Heath Ledger. But I will say that if Heath Ledger was not in that movie, Dark Knight would have been not a terrible film, but a really long, boring film. Alright, guys, let me know what you think. Did you agree with my rant? Hope you enjoyed it. Love you all to death. Don't forget to subscribe and comment and share. And remember, where's the trigger? Bye, guys.